Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ask Desmero. Today I have a special guest, Anthony Heygood from the Indianapolis market. Thanks for joining us, Anthony.
Feels good to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Des.
It's absolutely my pleasure. So I want to start with you. Tell me about you, your background, what were you doing before CARR, and what got you into commercial real estate?
A little bit about me. Married, three kids. Originally from Chester, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philadelphia. I've been in Indiana for a little bit over 15 years now. Actually, excuse me, for 20 plus years now that
Ooh.
I think about this, between college and leaving and coming back. I do have some Hoosier blood in me now. As far as real estate, after college, I went and had my cup of coffee in the NFL, what we call it, 3 or 4 years. So played with the Panthers and the Seahawks. And when I came back to Indianapolis to be closer to my son, who still lived in West Lafayette at Purdue, I saw that, everything around me was really a real estate opportunity. I wanted just to get into a business of opportunity. I do nothing with my 2 degrees from Purdue, which is which is health and fitness and women's studies. I decided to get into real estate. So I started out in real estate as just a typical realtor, doing buying and selling, did some asset management, did a lot of investment properties, wholesaling, flips, did Airbnb. So kind of ran the gamut as far as residential real estate was concerned. Changed from residential, decided that I wanted to learn how to do real estate from ground up, from the construction process. So I went back to the University of Indianapolis, I believe in 2017 or 18, to get my master's in real estate development. So I received my master's in real estate development, and I actually went and worked as an intern at a big commercial developer, multifamily developer here in the city named Flaherty and Collins. Started out as an intern, worked my way up to actually a developer there. Worked on several projects from Florida to Mishawaka, Indiana, Elkhart, Indiana. Several 200 unit apartment complexes. Got very familiar with how financing worked, site selection, and the entire development process there. Left Flaherty and Collins, I believe about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now. I went and worked for another developer here in the city named the Garrett Company. So I was a development manager there. So very familiar again with the entitlement process, design process. Worked on projects in Arizona and Texas for that company. And then last year, I just went back and looked at myself. Looked at where my career was going. I was a very good position, making very good money. But it was just not something that I chose. That I felt like was in my heart anymore. My heart was telling me I need to go out, venture into something bigger. So actually, I'm kind of my 1 year anniversary of leaving the Garrett companies and leaving kind of the multifamily development world. And then last year, a headhunter actually reached out to me and introduced me to CARR, introduced me to the concept of healthcare real estate, which I had been in commercial real estate for 8 to 10 years at that point, and never focused specifically on the healthcare portion of real estate at all. I interviewed, loved what the hiring director had to say, and then I got to kind of meet over the phone Ryan Gillespie, who's my regional director, and then Colin Carr, who's our CEO. And those two guys are just amazing human beings. I could just tell by the energy they had, the questions that they asked, the questions that they wanted to find out what my purpose was, and I really appreciated that. They hired me on and went through the training, and after training, I really kind of sat down and was like, this is what I want to do with my life. This is where I really want to focus. I really wanted to have an impact on my community and also have an impact of other people who are entrepreneurs and business owners, as I was, throughout my corporate development experience. So I really wanted to kind of be on the side of the tenant and no longer on the side of the landlord as I used to be in development.
Gotcha.
I fit it. Card just kind of fit. Really fit for what I wanted to do with my life. I'm full bore into understanding better into this healthcare commercial space now.
That's awesome.
So,
I didn't realize you had so much commercial experience already. That's fantastic. So this is not new to you by any means. That's wonderful. Well, maybe except for the healthcare part of it. But before we delve into that a little more, what was it about CARR aside from Colin and meeting those guys? Because those of us that have been through the CARR interview process, we all know how unique and interesting it is. But but what is it about the company culture or the business model that really stood out to you?
It's the representation, and kind of for me, it was, being something in real estate that I didn't know and I didn't understand. But then our business model with kind of that moniker of we help the people who help people was something that really, stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start to understand, going back through the finances, and like I said, being on the landlord side, I'm kind of understanding, what we used to offer to tenants who were going into retail space, and then understanding that the dentists and doctors, vets, who have you that we work with, they often go in without representation and they take whatever deal is presented to them. So understanding that now when they do have representation, it does save them tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars that can be used in their practice, used in their marketing, used to grow their business. It was something that, like I said, it kind of fit into that moral balance of something that I wanted to do, where I could really actually help people and affect change in people's lives. So the CARR model in and of itself is just buyer tenant representation is awesome, but also understanding that you are actually feeding a community that people typically take from them. Everybody wants something from a dentist. Everybody
Right.
wants something. Hey, fix my dog, or hey, fix my teeth, or hey, do this for me, for me, for me, for me. And we kind of go in and I wouldn't say we're like, well, yeah, we can say we're on the opposite, because we're not asking for anything from them. We're asking to represent them in a transaction that really does affect their practice and affect their lives. So, kind of that being the real estate superhero, I guess you could say, really fed into, what I was looking to do, after leaving the commercial development world.
Yeah, I like that description, superhero. I like
Yeah.
that. I can go with that.
When you say somebody six figures, then I mean, we
Right,
kind of,
you're a hero. You're a hero at
yeah,
that point, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah.
coming into healthcare focused brokerage, what was the biggest learning curve for you? And you already have all the commercial experience. You've been on the landlord side, so you know how that side operates, which is an incredible asset when you're on the buyer tenant side, because you understand how landlords think, and that helps you frame things in a way that makes it more palatable to them when you're trying to get concessions for your client. So what was the biggest hurdle for you to overcome from a healthcare perspective?
Just knowing the space, you don't, how a space is. Like, I have construction knowledge, yes, but I don't know how a dental space is built out. The number of operatories, what size they're needing for their operatories, their special plumbing that's needed, different electrical, so there's a lot of small nuances, and also you don't know the equipment that they use either. So there's a lot of very small nuances in the construction space that are specific for what we do. And just talking to other agents in the vet space, figuring out, Sam Caldezera from Chicago actually was telling me, there's a fear-free veterinary clinics, and there's fearful veterinary clinics. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means. So just really understanding the nuances with your clients of what their specific needs are based off of their industry has been really interesting to me. And then just having to build a new knowledge base so that I can actually meet them where they are and just have a little bit of, knowledge when I'm going into a space with a specific, using dental as an example, using that specific tenant, say, hey, you can probably fit 4 operatories in here. Do you want to grow your practice? Do you have associates that are going to work for you? So just really understanding, what the needs are of your client is, it's fun to learn, but it definitely gets you in a place where you're kind of ignorant to, how you might have been to the dentist, all throughout your life, but you don't know how they actually operate and what they actually need. So that's been fun for me. And then having those conversations with different vendors that are in our network to kind of understand how the equipment works, what equipment that they're going to kind of be promoting out to your clients, has also kind of been fun for me to learn over the short time that I've been with CARR.
And it's a lot, right? Because you're learning it for every vertical. Opticians have treatment lanes, veterinarians have, treatment rooms, dentists have operatories. So yeah, I imagine that's probably the not overwhelming, but it's daunting at first. But it sounds like, from all indications, that you are right on track with that. So good job with that. So tell me about Indianapolis. Every market has its little unique things about it. What makes Indianapolis so unique?
Oh man, that's a good question. I would say, just having been in the Indianapolis market on the residential and commercial side, is that or excuse me, Indianapolis one is booming. So we are right, and there's a lot of people don't really know Indiana or Indianapolis in general, so they don't know how centralized we are in the Midwest. So we're 3 hour drive to Chicago. We're 2 hours from Columbus, Ohio. We're an hour and a half from Louisville, Kentucky. We're 4 hours from Nashville. 5 hours from St. Louis. So like we really are kind of the heart roads of what is considered, the Midwest.
Yeah.
But I would say for our city in particular, outside of our population boom, is that, you know, so we're the circle city. So outside of the circle, we have major suburbs of what we call suburban urban that are their own true suburban centers that have, massive growth. So I think that's a really unique part of Indianapolis is that, everyone kind of comes in, they're like, oh, well, you just need to kind of be in Indianapolis proper within the circle, not understanding that we have large population centers that, for the most part survive on their own. So, Carmel to the north side, Greenwood to the south. I actually live east of the city, kind of farther east in a growing demographic called Greenfield. To the west of our city, we have, Brownsburg and Avon. So we have all these other suburban centers to where people don't really need to come into downtown or into the Indianapolis core to get their services and have everything they really need to be met. Is that, they can stay in their Brownsburg as a city or their Carmel as a city and really not have to come inside and, come inside the circle. So it's really good from a market standpoint is that, there's opportunity for, whatever vertical we're looking at, and we're just bringing up dentists to go and not have to be in Indianapolis and go and be able to have a practice thrive in our suburbs of Indianapolis, and all of our suburbs are having explosive growth as well. So there are cities, that were, 5 or 10 years ago that were, 20,000, 30,000 that are now looking for 75 with projections of being in the hundreds here in the
Wow.
next couple of years. So Indianapolis is pretty unique by that, or like that, and I think it's because we are so centralized in the Midwest, where people can come and still get their Midwest feel, but might have grown up in Chicago or grown up in Columbus, but they come here, they're still close to home, but they're in kind of a major growing city as well.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially for startups that are looking to plant their own flag, to know that there's opportunity in areas where there's growth happening right now and they're not fighting for space, especially in a big city, right?
Yeah.
So, with all those people coming in and with the population boom, are you seeing any specific trends? Are there any verticals that are growing faster than another right now, or any unique trends in the market that you're seeing?
Um, so that's kind of hard for me to speak to because I'm still relatively new to speak exactly to trends for verticals that we're in. I would say though, just to kind of answer in a broader picture is that, there's so coming from the multifamily development world, I mean the housing and the apartment building is not slowing down at all. So, when COVID kind of happened, a lot of developers, what we say their numbers don't pencil anymore. So they go in, they were kind of looking at rent ranges and what they want to charge to build an apartment complex. A lot of that slowed down from 2021 to 2024, even though as interest rates went up. A lot of those projects that people wanted to build slowed down or just didn't try to go after them anymore. Whereas kind of Indianapolis, it didn't happen here, so our demographics kept growing, and then all those projects still kind of penciled in our market. So speaking specifically for a vertical that um, that would have a trending growth, I couldn't exactly speak to that. But what I can say is that our population is going to support, and our income growth has been stable, and our population has grown. So whatever practice that you're in will still be able to thrive just because we are still having people here who are employed, and and we're still having growth despite the challenges that the greater America kind of runs into. Indiana kind of has its own special, uh, I would say, own special sauce of how we keep things moving here.
Fair enough. Would you say it's a particularly tight market, or is there still plenty of opportunity for people that are looking to come in?
Still plenty of opportunity.
That's great.
I don't think our market has gotten tight, at all. And like I said, we're building outside the city still. I mean, just in my city in particular, there's about 500 houses going on within 2 miles of my house right now, under construction
Okay.
right now. There's a new apartment project that just got approved as well. So I don't think that our market is getting tight at all. I think that there's kind of some changeover from the office market. So kind of maybe the office market has slowed down a little bit, but they're There are opportunities to still be had. I know our industrial base is really growing. Lily's doing an $8 billion project in
Wow.
our Lebanon corridor. So we do have still our big drivers, uh, big I guess job drivers here are still full bore, full steam ahead. So I don't think we're slowing down at all. And I know there's going to be plenty of opportunities still to be had here in Indianapolis.
That's fantastic. Would you say, and this is a question I get a lot in my area because it is very tight, but for people in your area, is there much opportunity to purchase? Or do you see ground ups happening?
Oh, there's plenty of land.
Really? Okay. Okay.
But we do. I mean, we do have plenty of land. I mean, we're for what it's worth. We're a very flat state. That has a lot of cornfields. So there
Uh-huh.
are a lot of farmers. So a lot of what's around Indianapolis has been cornfields for for forever. That is just now starting to have that growth out towards them. So we may have a lot of that's been built in the within the circle, but
Mm-hmm.
outside the circle, there's plenty of opportunities for development. And the cities know and support development in those cities. So it's not that they don't want growth to happen around Indianapolis. They are wanting the growth to happen. So I believe that that presents more opportunities because the cities are heavily involved with helping their communities grow from these kind of
Absolutely.
smaller towns that were rural to like we call the suburban urban centers now.
Right, right. Okay, so that's good news for people that are looking for second locations maybe or ready to do their ground up and transition from an existing location that was maybe their first to building their dream practice. So that's good.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you to play favorites for a second. What's your favorite vertical or what type of client or deal are you most passionate about?
Oh man, you put me in the spot, dude.
Sorry.
I don't have my dental clients looking at me like, "Oh, you only want to work with
I
veterinary."
know. That's why I said I'm going to have you play favorites. But everybody has a favorite of sorts that really kind of you get really excited when you get either this type of person client or a specific vertical. What sticks out to you?
You know what? I'm working with in order to, kind of save face with my other verticals. I'm working with someone that is actually I'm having fun with, and I think they do a kind of a just a unique trend is that I'm doing an adult daycare right now. So
Ooh, that
that was
sounds
kind of
interesting.
yeah, so exactly. So it's something that's kind of outside the norm. It's something that I didn't know much about at all.
Yeah.
Received the call and then, so I just wanted to kind of understand, what's your business model? What type of space are you looking for? And how much room do you really need? And then, after having, she sent me over some drawings of, what her preferred center would be and seeing, what they do. I do have a kind of a soft spot in my heart for that space, and it kind of mixes in so adult daycare centers and kind of autism services. Those are really big here. I mean, I'm noticing them everywhere, kind of in the city, and they are doing something. Obviously, that where they're working with a client base who does need help, who's typically overlooked, I
Mm-hmm.
would say, but who, if you can get them in a space that makes them comfortable, and like I said, having talked to her, she has a super big heart. I won't say my client's name on here, but she has a really big heart and she wanted to do something good for, an underserved population. So I really just put my heart out to them. So I would say, something that I'm having fun doing and, building out with her. And I believe that we did find her space. I just submitted her LOI last week is kind of the adult daycare centers and autism
Fantastic.
services, just because that's not a vertical that's on really on anyone's radar to go and target as a part of as far as representation, but it is a need, and I mean, and they do some fantastic work. So I'll say that just to save face with my vet and dental people, but I still love you.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to be mad at you for that. That's for sure because that sounds like a very it's an exciting project. I mean, that's not something that I'm really familiar with. So I think I think you're right. It's very needed in every community. Not just
Absolutely.
Indianapolis, but in every community. So when we're talking about Anthony, what does success look like for you personally and professionally? Like what do you want people, 5, 10 years from now to think of when they think of you and what is the end result of all the hard work for you?
Man, and I can honestly say this ties into kind of why I left corporate world last year. It's impact. What impact can I have on other people and to helping them move in the direction that they want to, So I'm kind of I guess you can say hard-headed in the fact that, I want to prove and make myself a better person every day. And that's kind of what I live by every day when I wake up. But then, putting that into practice in my professional and personal life is that, sometimes I tend to push people a little bit too hard in my personal life. Hey, you gotta do this. You gotta keep moving. Gotta keep getting better. Gotta keep doing something to get better. And sometimes it's a turn off to people, and people shy away from me because I'm, Mr. Go, go, go. We gotta get going. We gotta keep doing things. But I think that for my professional world, how that works out, and now at the space that I'm in, it will lead to me being able to, have a positive impact and really, affect change that people can take further in their lives. Obviously there's the saving the money part, and there's that, but I think that, people are looking for someone to actually care and look out for them. And if you can get that from a stranger, a person that really has no, because our clients, they don't pay us to do what we do, for that part. So really just having to look them in the eye and say, hey, I got your back. Look them in the eye and say, hey, I'm here to represent you, and help you, take your business a little bit further. And I'm doing this not obviously not the kind there is commission involved, so you're not doing it completely out of the kindness of your heart, but it is something that you can really defend somebody who's vulnerable. And I just I want to be known as someone who can have an impact on my community. So in my professional life, I'm having that impact, but also being with CARR, it gives me the ability to go out and to network every single day. And obviously I watch you a lot, so I know you network a lot too. But that networking piece, like just for example, I just did a free kids football camp on Saturday, and then I went to my daughter's softball game. So having that freedom to have my time back, to put myself out into my community and have an impact on little kids or obviously small business owners is what I'm going for. And then as far as my legacy, I'm leaving 5 or 10 years from now, if I can say that, I can drive around with my kids who are going to be, a little bit older and say, hey, I helped him get in that space, or I helped her get in that space. And excuse me. And look at that, I helped them do that. And then, look at these adult daycare centers. I was, kind of instrumental in helping these people get into these spaces and get their, lending and grow their businesses and help their families. I think that that's something that I can take pride in, in the future, going around just driving with my kids and be able to point to commercial space and say, hey, I had a hand in that. Now I didn't give them the money to do it, but I helped them get attached to the money to be able to build out their dreams. So I think those kind of things go hand in hand with having your time, saving other people time, but then also using my time wisely to put out into my community and, be a face for something good and positive change. So I
Yeah.
believe that I'm on that right track, and time will tell if I achieve that goal.
Yeah, and that really gives weight to the we help people who help people feeling that CARR embodies the our I don't want to say tagline because that cheapens it, because that's not what it is. I mean, we truly believe that we're helping people that help people so that they can go forward and help more people. So it's that's I love that. That's the same thing. I love to look around and go, oh, I helped that veterinarian get started, or oh, I put this person there. So I know how much weight that carries in your heart when you feel that you helped someone who helps someone. So what would you say is the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever
I'm asking all
received.
the hard questions today.
Yeah, that's the thing. I get a lot of advice. I do. I talk a lot. If you couldn't tell, so I do. I would say two things, and it's from two of my mentors. One was a business mentor when I first started my first company, and then another was kind of the man who I give credit to getting me started in the commercial development space. So my business mentor, one of the first things or not first things, but one of the things he always used to say is that a smart man learns from other people's mistakes, not from making their own mistakes. And it's one of those things where you're always told, you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your mistakes. And although that is true, he wanted me to kind of start to see how I was going to attack things in business from learning from what other people did that didn't work and then
Yeah.
just not starting over. So I always kind of take that into my mind, learning from other people's mistakes and, not having to make the same mistakes other people has made, other people have made, geez Louise. And then another one, and this kind of goes into kind of like my mentorship and getting out of my community and having impact, is that my development mentor used to tell me, used to always say, each one teach one, each one teach one. It's kind of that iron sharpens iron thing. So
Hmm.
he's a man who took it upon himself. Once again, he got me my first job as an intern at a major development firm. And then, it took me under his wing. So I was with him every single day, all the work travel, all the trips, learning everything about the process. And, he's taking his time out of, doing these major projects to teach me how to be more professional and learn. So it said, each one teach one. So he constantly was teaching me, and he's teaching me to that. Now I have the knowledge and I can go out and teach someone else to be able to do it, maybe not as good as we have done it, hopefully better than we have done it, and make them more comfortable in their processes. So, those are kind of those two things, each one teach one, and then, learn from other people's mistakes
Hmm.
are things that I very often think about, in just my decision making on the day to day, once again, having an impact on other people, and then also stopping people from making the same mistakes that I've made in business, are two things that I think served me well.
That's fantastic. I think that's a great philosophy. Would you say that that's advice that you would give somebody starting out in commercial real estate, or would you have a different piece of advice for them?
Um, I would tell them that, yes, I would want them to learn those things, but I would also just tell them that, persistence pays off.
Hmm.
You know, you're not going to get a lot of calls or answers, those first couple emails or first couple phone calls, but, staying persistent and, make sure that you're constantly doing something to either reach out or get to your goal every day. The commercial deals, and this is what I learned from the development space. I mean, development, you're really 4 to 5 years on a
Yeah,
single project.
on a
So
single
you
project.
start looking at some land. You can start looking at some land, in 2021, and then you got to kind of go through. There's permitting, there's
Hmm.
entitlements, there's designs, there's it's a patience game, and it's a lot of, and this, I hate this so much, but it's just the nature of the beast, is hurry up and wait.
Yep.
So hurry up and get this done, and then it's like, okay, well, wait 2 weeks for a response. Hurry up and get this done, and then wait another month for a response. So
Yeah.
what I would say is that you being persistent, at least in commercial real estate space,
Hmm.
being persistent, but persistence and patience are going to take you a long way, because if you get frustrated or if you get flustered at every single thing that's happened, this is not going to be the space for you, because something's always going to happen. It's just the nature of the beast. Something's going to happen, whether it's your lending or your design, or something's going to happen, and you just got to be patient. But then once it's time to go, you got to be persistent in getting things done, and kind of be a pain in the butt at times.
Hmm.
But it is what it is.
That's true, and that can be a big challenge for people starting out in commercial real estate because it does take time, and some people just get frustrated, like you said, and they give up before they've ever really gotten started. So that's a very good piece of advice. So I have one final question for you, because you've been so generous with your time. I don't want to take up too much, but let's
Anything
see.
for you is.
I know, I know.
Anything.
So what's something people would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I'll say this. I think it's funny to me that everybody always thinks the most interesting thing about me is always like, "Oh, you played in the NFL," and I'm like, "That is a lifetime ago to me now." It's a lifetime ago to me. It's a job that I haven't worked in a very long time, but
Is that what that ring is? Because I keep seeing that ring. So tell me about it.
oh, this is actually my Purdue football ring. So this
Oh,
is actually
okay,
my
okay, okay. That's very nice. I like it. Yep, got it. Uh huh.
But yeah, so yeah, this is my Purdue, and this is a ring that literally sat in my safe for like 15 years. That I was just tired of it being in there, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna start wearing it at this point."
There you go.
Um, but I think something fun that people, when they learn this, I think it kind of blows their mind, is that I actually was a professional trampoline dodgeball player at one point in my life after my NFL days.
Wait, wait, wait.
Exactly.
Trampoline dodgeball?
Sky Zone trampoline
Is that a
dodgeball.
thing? I didn't know that was a thing.
It was an international thing for a
I
while. Like
am
I
gonna
played
look that
teams
up.
from Great Britain. I played teams from Canada. My team, we went to nationals every year. I would argue to say that we were the best team in the Midwest for like 4 or 5 years straight.
That's
Yeah, we were. I
awesome.
mean, yeah, we were ranked top 10. I would say since it was international in the world at one point. With all the California teams, and we were one of the best teams in the Midwest. So, that's something that is really fun about me. I still play court dodgeball to this day. But trampoline dodgeball, we were one of the better teams, in the entire world in trampoline dodgeball. So that's something that's super fun about me. I mean,
That
but
is very
besides
fun. I love it. I
I'm
love it.
a little guy. I work out 6 days a week. I still hit the weight, still run, still keep myself in top physical shape. I got kids at home, so got to keep chasing them around
Got to
and
keep
be the
chasing them
defender
around.
of my girls.
Well, it helps you stay mentally sharp too.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm very irritable in the mornings when I don't work out. I can guarantee you that. You see, you'll notice a day when I don't work out, a day when I do work out. Like people are like, something wrong with you today? I was like, yeah, I didn't get to go, burn off that 6 a.m. steam.
Well, listen, Anthony, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I can't wait to see what you do in Indianapolis.
Thank you so much, Des. I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, just giving me a chance to, obviously grow my business through your platform. So I appreciate it, and I always admire all the work you do. This is probably the first thing I said to you when we actually met in person. Is like, I love what you do on LinkedIn.
You're
Like,
so
please
sweet.
show me the way. So yeah, thank you so much for allowing me this time, and I pray the best for your business this year, and I will see you next year.
Thank you. And real quick, what's if somebody in Indianapolis wants to get a hold of you for commercial healthcare real estate reasons, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say email is probably easiest, anthony.heygood@car.us. Am I allowed to say my work cell phone number on here?
You can if you want. That's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem. I mean, if people are going to reach out to me. I feel like I'm a great person to work with. But yeah, my work cell is 317-604-6443. Besides that, I'm on LinkedIn. I am going to start a Instagram here in a little bit. So, look out for the healthcare, Hey Good Healthcare Real Estate's Instagram page. But besides that, LinkedIn or my email, or you can just call me if you got any questions. I'm here to be a resource and help to anybody in Indianapolis and really the greater Indiana market.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Des.
And everybody, you can catch this video on my new YouTube page, Ask Des Marrow. You can also find snippets of it on LinkedIn. I'm going to be sending it to Anthony so you can check his stuff out as well. So until next time.